What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's try to get to 12 trillion likes, and then we'll drop part 2, link in the comments. Anyway, yeah, so, hello everyone. Welcome and or welcome back. And man, if only it was cool outside, this would be Cold Night Chats. But alas, the overnight low is about 78 degrees. It is that time of year, folks. We are just about in June. You know what? It is after midnight on May 30th, which makes it technically May 31st, so it's the last day of May. We can basically do an end of month review. However, of the ones of these I've recorded in the past 2 months, I don't think I've uploaded any since the beginning of April. Well, no, I did a stand up Cold Night Chats, straight up is what I meant to say. Cold Night Chats episode on April 20 something, I think. Yeah. So, you haven't heard from me in, 5 weeks, I guess? I mean, I posted some other videos, I think, but not this kind of stuff. Just like me talking to you in the dark, leaving all the silence and the breathing and the stammering about, and just just leaving all that in. I feel like I'm making a hello, greetings, and salutations episode right now with the way this is like turning out. Maybe I should have done that instead. I don't know. Maybe I still will. I don't know. Maybe I'll do just one right after another and marathon them. Who knows? I'm just laughing right now because I just realized I'm wearing two Fun Spot wristbands, one on each hand, and I gotta go to work tomorrow. I can just imagine showing up to the morning meeting and see both of my wristbands. What would their reaction be? Would they tell me to take them off? Because that's what they did at Universal. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out, right? I might get fired. That might be the thing that just pushes them over the edge. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, as you probably know by this point, I don't script anything. I don't even write notes like most people do, at the very least, to sort of keep us on track, because there is no track, really, to the train of thoughts. It just kind of goes. It's like a tornado, its path is just, you can't predict it, so, not to say that I'm like an impulsive speaker in general, because I'm not really anymore, at least. I tend to be silent when I don't know what to say. I don't just feel the need to talk constantly. The way I see it, I have two ears and one mouth, and I really try to let my lifestyle reflect that. So I want to make sure that I'm intaking at least double the information that I am not taking. That's not a word, is it? But the opposite of intake. Exporting, maybe. I don't know. Something like that. Yeah, you get the idea, though. So that's a relatively new thing. I mean, I can't say since I've been an adult, or even since I moved to Orlando. I've had a lot of hard lessons to learn, and I still keep growing and evolving every day. It's never over. If I feel like I have plateaued, something's wrong, because humans are always imperfect until the day we die. I'll never claim to be perfect. But I do, not only do I think, but I know I have come a long way. And that I can feel a sense of accomplishment in, at least. I wasn't always a good person. I spent much of my life actually knowingly and intentionally being evil and just doing evil things to people and the world, knowing full well what I was doing. I can't even plead ignorance. So, these are things that I have to live with, and it's not even like it's one-off things. It was a huge portion of my life and my development and my first impressions on the world, and in turn my first reception by the public. So, it kind of formulates things, especially in a young mind. It's very dangerous. I also want to make it known that right now I am completely sober, meaning I am not currently under the influence of alcohol, marijuana, kratom, kava, caffeine, or any of that sugar, perhaps sugar to some extent, but none of my usual vices at this time. So I get a little weird when I'm sober sometimes, a little existential, because there's nothing really blocking that direct flow of cosmic energy. I guess there's no distractions. Not that I want to be distracted. I don't want to be distracted. That's why I'm sober, So, just sometimes it can get overwhelming. I guess if you try to put a designated amount of time into abstract thought, you're going to get a lot more than you bargained for. It's going to be overwhelming. You have to allow a certain percentage of it to seep throughout each day, and all the tasks and everything every situation you find yourself in. You can't just bottle it all up, because it will manifest in a way that is beyond conscious control. That's what I found, at least. It might be different for each person, I don't know. I've never been anyone else that I can recall. So, my whole perception of reality is just based on my standpoint and my particular circumstances, as is everyone's. Yeah, maybe I should have just done hello, greetings, and salutations instead. I'd probably be much better at that than whatever I'm trying to do here. What even is this? What am I... Life update? Is that what I call it? Okay, you want a life update? Let's start at the present. Today was Memorial Day. Doesn't really mean much, but everyone was home, I guess. There's a transition going on between the people I'm living with. 3 of them are in the process of moving out, and we got 2 new ones moving in, at least for now. There's also 2 new rooms being built, so it's going to be another 2 people at some point, I'm sure. But one of the ones who's moving out, I've actually grown kind of fond of. in recent times. When I first started interacting with him, I thought he was crazy is a bit of a harsh word. I don't really use that in the context of people, but I thought he was a little over the top, because he just the things he would say and the way that he would conduct himself and his just general behavior was, reflected that. It wasn't until I really got to talk to him one on one and stuff. He always just starts off with every conversation with just nonsensical, made up stuff, and it really takes a while into the conversation for him to slowly get serious and to actually talk about meaningful things. But once that happens, it's very captivating. You just gotta pierce through each layer until you get to the real, the genuine portion. So that was also a wake-up call to me to be a lot less judgmental of people, to just write someone off based on their surface level behavior. You have to actually spend a day with them and see if they're like that 24/7, or if it's just an exaggerated version of themselves that they, for whatever reason, feel compelled to portray. But yeah, so he and I bonded over a lot of things. Mostly music, art, philosophy, abstract things. He just kind of understood. We understood each other with what we were saying, even though neither of us are particularly well versed in articulating abstract concepts. We kind of just got it. We didn't we weren't perplexed by what the other one was saying. So I'm gonna miss him. He's moving out on the 1st, and I met the guy who's replacing him. He's a friend of his, and he seems pretty cool too. But I don't know. So yeah, we got that going on. Just working mostly. Today was my only day off for the whole week. It usually is Monday. So I now work with a solar company, going door to door. I work Tuesday through Saturday. Every day from noon to 8 o'clock, but except Saturdays 9 to 5. So, I get up and get ready for work, and then I work my 8 hours, and then try to get to the gym, go anywhere else that I need to go, if I need to go to the store or get gas or go to the bank or anything like that. And then I come home and I only have 2 hours until it's time to go to bed. So I usually have a lot to unpack mentally from the day. It takes me that long to just kind of get decompressed. So I don't really do much outside of work for 5 days a week. if I'm just being honest. I mean, as much as I'd like other people to think that I juggle so many different things. I mean, mentally I do, but not as much in practice, you know. And then Saturdays I'm off earlier at 5 o'clock, so then I go to the gym, and then I go to the gym like every day that I physically can. There comes a point after so many days in a row when my body just refuses to cooperate, and I need to take a rest day. So I do, and that ends up being once or twice a week. But every day that I have it in me, I go. And I work out for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So, um, and then, so the thing is, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, I go out on what I call my other job, but it's really just like a side hustle. It's something called pedicabbing. I may have talked about it on here before, but I do pedicabbing in downtown Orlando on the weekends, and then also any events. So the only time I'll work a weeknight is if there's an event. And then I'll go after work. But so like Friday, for example, I'll go out after, like, I'm off work at 8:30, and then I'll go to the gym. It'll be about like 10 or 10:30, and then I'll head to the shop and get my pedicab all set up and everything, and head out about 11, and pedicab until about 3 a.m. And then by the time I get home, it's 3:30, and then I usually have to eat, brush my teeth, do all that, so it's like 4 o'clock a.m., and I go to bed, and then I have to get up at 8 on Saturday, so I get 4 hours of sleep. And then Saturday, I get up at 8 because I got to go to work at 9, get off at 5, go to the gym, start pedicabbing at like 7, and do that until 3 again. Home at 3:30, asleep at 4. So 8 a.m. to 4 a.m., it's a 20-hour day. So basically I work 2 8-hour shifts, 9 to 5, 7 to 3, with a workout in there too. So a double shift plus a workout. And that's my whole day Saturday. So, and then Sundays I have off from the solar, but I usually still go pedicabbing. If there's no events, then I'll go later, like at 10 or 11 o'clock until 3. But if there are events, they're usually at like 7 or 8, so I'll go out at like 6 until 3. So it all depends. So really I have like 1.5 days off, because Mondays I don't do either the solar or the pedicabbing. So Mondays are my big day off, and then Sundays I kind of, I can wake up at my own pace and whatever. Go to the gym, go shopping, take care of business, clean out my car, clean out my room, make some music, catch up on any shows or, albums or podcasts or anything that I wanted to do. I mean, albums, like music is a little bit easier because I can listen to that in my car. I guess I could with podcasts too, I just don't usually. But, so I can kind of take a little bit of a breather there, but I'm always relentlessly productive. And then there's also a lot going on with family, so I like to try to keep in touch with my family as much as possible, especially my parents. So, but like my dad, for example, every time I talk to him, it always ends up being 3 or 4 hours. Like, he'll say, hey, can you talk for 5 minutes? And it'll be 3 hours, because he's not very concise at all. He just kind of rambles on. Like, he can literally talk for 20 minutes without me interjecting anything, which I guess is equal parts him, wanting to talk, and me just being receptive and not trying to override people. But in cases like his, like, being raised by him didn't really set a prime example for ideal interhuman communication. Because in order to communicate effectively with him, you have to interrupt him at some point, because if you don't, he's just going to keep talking and talking and end up 5 topics later, and you're going to forget your initial question, or it'll be irrelevant now. So if you have something to interject, you just got to blurt it out. And he's never like offended by it. He just accepts it because he's aware of this. He knows like that's how it works. So using that as a model for conversation is disastrous, because he's definitely the exception in that he doesn't represent the majority of people. And my mom can go either way. Some days she's a little more talkative, and I just kind of just let her do her thing for a while. And then other days it's more of a, more of a dialogue of like one sentence her, one sentence me, one sentence her, more like a back and forth kind of thing. But I mean, I'm the same way too. I mean, I guess I just have outlets like this to sort of get the rambling out, because I don't really ramble much in conversation anymore, unless the person I'm talking to is just legitimately has nothing to say. But that's very rare. I find most people always have something to say, and they either just want to say it to you or not, But everybody's always thinking things, and if you can think things, you can say things. It's just a matter of people's filters based on the circumstances. But yeah, so I've had more days of feeling good recently than I have of feeling not good. So, I guess that's a plus. I'm making a lot of money between the 2 jobs. So, the most money that I've made in my life so far. So I'm getting to save that up. I'm investing some of it. I'm not really spending much of it at all, because I don't really have time to spend the money. I mean, hey, I'm working all the time, so, and then the time that I'm not working, I'm at the gym, or I'm, talking to family. Sometimes my mom will come up for Sunday and Monday, and those Sundays I don't go pedicabbing, because I already, my big money nights are Friday and Saturday night, so I usually, that sets me up for the week, so I don't really need to go Sunday. This is kind of like an optional thing. So if something else comes up, or like it rains or whatever, then forget it. So Sundays are like, if I feel like it, but I usually do. But yeah, so sometimes my mom will come up either late Saturday night, so that she's already here sleeping when I get home at 4 a.m., and then we get up and go to breakfast at 10 or 11 or whatever. Or she'll come up Sunday morning or early afternoon, and basically just spend the day Sunday, sleep here in my room. Sunday night she brings up a little cot. I keep telling her, like, it's a double bed, you could just sleep in the bed, I don't care, but she insists on sleeping in the cot. So, and then we spend the day together Monday, so we get 2 full days out of it, at least Sunday and Monday, and then she leaves Monday night. So yeah, that's, sometimes she does that, like that's the plan next week. Sometimes my dad and I'll do something crazy, like we go to Atlanta, the Six Flags Over Georgia in Atlanta. We'll leave Saturday night at 4 a.m. after my pedicabbing. It's an 8-hour drive, so then we're up there. So I'll sleep while he drives, because he usually, he'll sleep before he leaves, like while I'm pedicabbing and stuff. And then, so it's an 8-hour drive, so we'll get there at noon, go to the park from noon until whenever they close, which is usually 8 or 9, and then sleep either, if we can't find a hotel cheap or an Airbnb cheap, then we'll just sleep in the car, just leave it run with the AC, put up the little things to block the sunlight through the windows, and set up the bedding on the back seat, or recline the passenger seat, depending on the mood, and in some like a truck stop parking lot, or something like that. And then go to the park again on Monday from open to close. Leave Monday night whenever they close at 8 or 9, and then drive back. Be back at like 5 a.m. Go to sleep, get up at 10 or 11. I get up at 11 on Tuesday through Friday because, I work at 12. So, yeah. So that's the plan for the weekend after next. Sometimes I'll go down to Port St. Lucie, which is where they both live, to visit them. For those 2 full days, I'll leave either, like, if I'm super wound up and excited, I'll just leave right from pedicabbing at 3:30 in the morning on Saturday and be down there at 6 a.m. and then just go right to sleep and get up at like noon or 1 o'clock and have breakfast with them. On Sunday, spend Sunday and Monday, come back Monday night, leave there at like midnight or 1, be back at 3 or 4 so I could go to sleep and get up at 11. And then, or get up Sunday morning at 9 or 10 a.m. and leave and get down there at noon or 1, and do the same thing. So sometimes they come to visit me, sometimes I go to visit them, sometimes we go on a weird adventure, and then sometimes, like this weekend, for example, none of that happens. I don't see anyone in my family, and I just stay here and take care of business, because eventually, like I can't even do laundry on days that I work, because there just isn't any time. I mean, maybe in like the last 2 hours, after I come home after all that. I just don't usually feel like doing anything at that point, except maybe like playing guitar or writing songs, or, creative things. Because I find like in the last like week or two, I feel like I like have been bottling up a lot of creativity that I desperately need to get out, because both of my jobs, but especially the solar one, the door-to-door thing, as much as, like, I'm not complaining about it, I'm not saying it's like a soul-sucking job or anything like that. There definitely is creativity involved in it, because a lot of it ends up just being improv of, like, having conversations with people, But at the end of the day, I'm there to give them a pitch, and there is a script that it's based on, that we got to follow and mention all these things, and, it's so I got to do that over and over again, give the same pitch over and over again to different people all day. And then pedicabbing, it's like that one is kind of, I'm my own boss really, but there's only, you just go around in laps, ringing that bell. Hey, need a ride? Need a ride? And eventually someone does. And, every once in a while there'll be some interesting people that I come across. But for the most part, the kind of clientele that we have, the kind of people that go to downtown bars and clubs and stuff on Friday and Saturday nights after midnight, they're just, I don't know, they're just not really my kind of people. They just like are loud and annoying, and it's not really my wavelength. But I tolerate it. I'm not like, I don't care. It doesn't affect my life really. I'm not gonna treat them any differently. But they're just not people I'd want to like hang out with, under other circumstances or anything. But like I said, every once in a while there will be someone who's kind of interesting that'll end up, maybe talking to for a few minutes. But so between those jobs, there's not really a lot of, room for me to be creative. It's kind of just like, okay, now we got to do this, now we got to do that. It's formulaic. And then with the gym, then it's okay, you got to do 15 reps of this, and now we got to do 12 reps of that, and now, 3 sets of this, and you know what I mean? So, you're like, I'm a creative person. It's just the way I'm wired. So I need some kind of outlet, and it's hard. when I get like maybe 2 hours a day on days that I work, which is 5 days a week. So out of 5 days, that's what, 120 hours? That's 2 times 5 is 10. So 10 out of 120 hours that I'm allowed to be creative, assuming there's no unforeseen circumstances that inhibit that during that time. So, it is what it is. I wish I could get better at guitar, though. As you may or may not know, I made an album in April with 20 songs that I kind of ironed out. And I was given a laptop for my birthday that I'm still in the process of trying to set up. I've never really been good with technology, but I intend to install software on there for video editing as well as music production. So I read the specs on it and looked up everything, and it definitely can support all the programs that I want to use with it. So should be good there. So yeah, that's exciting. So I'm hoping to go pro with my music soon. I mean, the thing is, I don't really have time to like go out and play publicly now, except maybe like one day a week or something. But if I start off with that and I'm somewhat successful, then I might quit pedicabbing and just do my 40 hours a week with solar, and then I'll have a lot more free time. I'll have all of Saturday after 5 p.m., all day Sunday, all day Monday. And then after work every day too, from like 8, 9 o'clock on. I mean, yeah, I'll still go to the gym, but, I'll have the rest of the time for music and videos. So I'm starting to get some of my creativity back as far as videos go, comedy ideas, sketches, animations, if I have the patience for that. Things like that. So we'll see. But it's easy to just get caught up in the monotony, just making money and just focusing on that, just letting the days go by, letting the water hold me down. So I can sense when that's happening, though. That's the thing. I'm aware of it. But I feel like it also helps to regulate a lot of things that just for the 6 weeks or so that I was just kind of unemployed. And, there were 2 weeks that I was like truly unemployed. And then like 2 weeks after I got fired from Universal, I started pedicabbing. But that, I make my own hours, and it's late at night, and it's only a few hours here and there and stuff. So it's not really like a full-time job. So I didn't start this solar job until last week. So, there was 6 weeks there total that I didn't have a full-time job or a scheduled job. So during that time, I kind of just like got a little sloppy, got a little disorganized because, there's so much time. There was no need for me to be organized. I didn't have to get up at a specific time or go to bed at a specific time or be anywhere at a specific time. Time was irrelevant. The day of the week was irrelevant. Just, everything. So it was just, I just did whatever, it was very low effort. But now that I have that kind of structure, it sort of makes me compartmentalize things. Okay, this is the time when we do this. This is the time we do that. And that's what I started off saying, actually, about, a designated time where you can think abstractly and allow abstract thoughts into your mind. Because when you're trying to, recite the company pitch to a homeowner at their house, then's not the time for abstract thought. Then's the time for memorization and to be present in that interaction, because you want to get the commission, and all that stuff. So, like, and when you're pedicabbing, like, that's not the time either, because you got to focus on the ride and operating the thing, and and when I'm driving, sometimes is the closest, but you can't get too deep into thought, because you also have to be aware and alert when operating a motor vehicle. When I'm in the gym, I got to concentrate on the form and counting the reps and all, so, like, there's very little time in my daily routine that I'm allowed to think abstract, even when I'm, like, getting ready for work or getting ready for bed or whatever. Like, if I'm getting ready for bed, then that's going to prevent me from falling asleep most of the time. I need to, like, shut my mind off, basically. So, I have maybe an hour or two a day, maybe 3 if you count some of the driving time that's not, like, chaos. Because Orlando, and if you've ever been to Orlando, you probably know the traffic here is just mind-boggling. Like, and you might think, how do people live like this every day? Well, I do. I'm kind of desensitized to it somewhat after living here. Wow, 7 months. I've lived here 7 months now. Jeez. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So after living here 7 months, I'm kind of desensitized to it now. But before I lived here, when I would come up to visit and stuff, I would just be like, how do people do this? But yeah. So, it's not really like non-Orlando driving. But, sometimes, like, if it's late at night or, somehow things are going smoothly, the stars align and there's no traffic jams or, people just forgetting how to drive, then I have, I can sort of let my mind wander a little bit, but I usually need to focus when I'm in Orlando. I feel like this is wobbling too much. Put it down here, it'll be steadier. Yeah, so what I was getting at there is, in the process of compartmentalizing my week and all that, it also sort of balances out, like, emotionally and everything. Like, I don't go to the extremes that I did during the 6-week period, like, when left to my own devices. If I have this format to stick to, my boundaries are more centered. I'm in a track now. It's like a go-kart. Like, you still move it freely, but there's barriers on both sides, so you don't stray too far. Whereas if those weren't there, you can just go endlessly in one direction. You know. But yeah. So, in the past I've expressed that as a negative concept of having, that structure, that it's inhibiting freedom and all that. But yeah, I think time management, first of all, is a valuable asset to learn. And if done properly, can be an even better existence. Because if you don't know how to properly manage your time, you get sloppy with your time management, your quality of life will immediately diminish. So, and it also makes me feel, honestly, if I'm being completely real here, it makes me feel like more important of a person. That I get up to an alarm, I put on nice clothes, and I drive to this fancy office building, and I feel like a businessman, like a respected member of adult society, you know? And like everywhere I go, like I feel a sense of, like of community, like that I belong there and that I deserve to be there. Not, obviously not to the extreme of being like narcissistic or, thinking I'm better than anyone or anything, but it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. I've struggled with self-esteem issues all my life, and I still do to some extent. But what I'm trying to get at here is that this structure and, the different components of my life currently is keeping that in check, not letting that get the best of me, by letting me know, like, you're just as important as everyone else, you know. I know a lot of people in the workforce feel the opposite. And they feel their self-esteem is adversely affected. Negative. I don't know why I'm using such fancy words tonight. It came out of nowhere. Uh, to put in layman's terms, from this point forward, yeah, a lot of people in the workforce, are claimed to be negatively have their self-esteem negatively affected as a result. And, perception is reality, so I could very easily think that same way and use the confirmation bias to seek out information that supports that thesis. But why would I want to support something negative when I can support something positive and be equally as passionate about it and have the information presented be equally true? So it's all genuine. Just as it would be genuinely negative, it's genuinely positive. It's not forced. If that makes any sense. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm busy again. We're moving again. Not literally, I mean like mentally. Like, here we go again, instead of stagnating. Yeah. I don't know how I did that actually. Like, for 6 weeks, I had all day, every day to make my own rules, make my own schedule. And somehow I ended up doing like pretty much nothing significant. Every day it felt like a lot was going on. It felt like I was doing a lot, but it was all just temporary. It was all planning for the immediate future, just for today. It's not setting myself up for next week or next month or anything. And I guess I didn't realize that. So this is kind of like forcing me to be more productive and more efficient because there is time. I can get more done, in 2 hours now than I could in a whole day before. So yeah, I'm just trying to stay positive and stay creative because even though, I have been feeling better overall, I still deal with mental health issues, miscellaneous mental health issues because I've never been officially diagnosed or anything. But I just know based on my knowledge of things and my, based on the descriptions and comparisons and everything, and in talking with other people and stuff. But yeah, so those are lifelong. And as long as I am unmedicated and don't prioritize, don't shape my life around that, then they will be always present, always a tab open in the background somewhere. They never fully go away. There's never a day that I go through the whole day forgetting that I have any kind of mental illness. It's always, it's always there. It's just to what extent its power has over my thoughts and actions varies day by day, hour by hour. So, but like I said, that too, it hasn't been as extreme, so I'm able to function. And I'm going to be honest with you, my first week of work alone, going door to door and all that, it was a little bit intimidating. And even though I felt like, pretty okay and pretty level, when I got out to the neighborhood that I was going to, I took some kratom. So I was high, if you will, on kratom for my full shift of every day the first week. But not only do I not regret it, though, I think that was the best decision to make, because it just sort of like everything was okay. I didn't have any kind of anxiety or worries. It just like I was just like really good at my job during that time. Whereas if I didn't take the kratom, I would be a mess probably, But I don't intend to have that be like the last day, for example, that I worked Saturday. I didn't take anything. I just drank a bunch of coffee, and I just like went through the whole day on, that momentum of energy alone, and I did fine. So, I I refuse to be dependent on external sources for any kind of thing. Like even caffeine, I'm aware of, when it gets too out of hand, or it gets to the point where I experience withdrawal if I go more than a few minutes after waking up with having caffeine, then I know it's time for a self intervention, I don't, like an internal alarm goes off whenever I'm dependent on something, whether it's some kind of substance or whether it's, TV or music or, like a certain type of food or, people or, anything, It's just like, okay, it's just lopsided. Your time management is imbalanced, and it's just, you gotta rearrange priorities. So I never let, my mind keeps an eye out on all the different departments of the brain, and never really lets anything get out of hand. But I feel like right now, to sum it all up, I feel like this that I'm living in right now is a predominantly educational period for me, where I'm just kind of, just sitting down and observing things, so I'm a little quieter and just kind of just taking it all in, even though I'm expected to be talkative for both my jobs and, with my family and with it, like and with my housemates and stuff, like, don't get me wrong, I still say a lot of words per day, but I'm not like, it's also about the things that I say too have shifted. I'm not trying to give people unsolicited advice or unqualified advice, I'm not like judging people. I'm not being passive aggressive, or angry or any of that stuff, like 10% as much as I was. And in retrospect, I don't really know where the anger came from. That's one thing. I have no idea. It would just be random. And every once in a while I still feel like a wave of anger, but it doesn't consume me. It doesn't drown me in it temporary. Anger is temporary madness, it's temporary insanity. So, I feel like I'm mentally strong enough now to resist that temptation, because it's always like any kind of outburst or display of anger is not founded in logic or rationality. And immediately afterwards, if you're asked by, any kind of psychological professional to describe what just happened and to support your actions or your words, after you've calmed down, you just can't. You just embarrass yourself, So I realize that now. So I'm just not angry anymore. And I don't, I don't choose to display that, because, it's not going to get me anywhere. And obviously, there are times that I'm tested to great lengths by various people. Generally strangers, though, not usually people I know. Well, first of all, I wouldn't choose to hang out with someone that consistently gets on my nerves, But even like with family and the people I live with and stuff like that, like I learned to coexist, and it's just, you just get along with people, just focus on common interests and mutual appreciations of things and stuff like that, as opposed to differences or, clashing things, because why, so, but yeah, so it's usually strangers that will bring me the closest to that, but I haven't, I haven't snapped, I haven't experienced an outburst of anger in probably like 2 weeks now, just because I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I don't have the energy for it, honestly. Like I just, I haven't been aware in the past of just how much energy anger requires. And I just don't have that kind of energy and that kind of passion to put into something so purely negative. It's just, I don't see the point in that. And the thing is, I never come out the bigger man. I never come out on the high road. Every time I give in to anger, it doesn't help me win arguments, because they're nonsensical arguments to begin with. That's that's the thing. And like, yeah, the other person might be in the wrong, but then everybody's wrong. Then it's just gorillas going ooh ooh ah ah and banging on their chest. That's all the sane person hears in these arguments. So it really took that visualization of mine and all that to really put the kibosh on that. But I'm just a calmer person in general now. So yeah, whenever there is a situation that puts to the test all that kind of stuff, I just try to. I don't even necessarily run away from it because that's sort of like an instinctual response at first. If you're trying to, purge yourself of anger, you just naturally run away from any kind of situation which might trigger that. But I feel like I'm strong enough to resist that now. So I don't run away from it anymore. I just find non non-confrontational ways to confront it. If that makes any sense. Yeah, I'm happy with my word choice there. Yeah. Yeah. Non-confrontational ways to confront it. It needs to be confronted, but just not necessarily in a confrontational way. Now, keep in mind, confrontational extends to include passive aggression, psychological manipulation, things like that. So it's not even necessarily just explicit anger. But yeah. So. But again, like me just being me isn't enough I'm not really qualified to talk about myself and how good I'm doing. And that's up to other people because I don't see what other people see in their interactions with me. So I could be a raging maniac for all I know. I would need to hear it from other people. And I don't usually ask people, how am I doing? Do you enjoy talking to me? What am I doing wrong? Like I don't usually ask those kind of things. So I just sort of have to assume based on their responses and their reactions and following interactions. Man, 57 minutes. 57 minutes of what? I was worried I wasn't going to have anything to say here. But yeah, we can wrap it up now. So there you go. Should bring this up to snuff. I'll do another one next time I feel like it. So yeah. Have a good night, everybody.